Tell them why you're going. Because I really think that's important to have an idea of why you're going. During this pilgrimage, you will have an amazing encounter and opportunity to grow closer to God. A pilgrimage can be a turning point for you, a wake-up call. It can be a revitalization. It can be a revisitation. It can be a transformation. It can be whatever God needs it to be for you. The cool thing about these pilgrimages is that they're custom-made. They tend to, I've been, and some of you will talk about different pilgrimages you've been on or retreats you've been on, and one of you might have gotten, well, I remember that talk by that lady, and the other person's like, well, I remember the talk by that guy, and then another person's like, I really like the adoration, somebody else is like, I really like the music. It's funny how we all go to the same place, 900 is the number I think this year, we go to 900 people at this conference, and we're all going to go and we're all going to get something. And it's going to be a little bit different for each of us, because God somehow makes it work for each of us. Whatever your relationship is with God going into this, I ask you to begin to pray. Pray every day, like it said in the video. 5 to 10 minutes. Try and begin to hear what God's going to say to you. Because God has prepared something for you, and He just wants you to be open for it. And really, at the end of the day, how much you get out of this experience really comes down to you. If you're open and saying, God, I don't really know why I'm going, but whatever you got planned, I'm going to try and be open. I'm going to try and go with the flow. And God will do amazing things with that yes. Leave the door open just this much. God will put His foot in it. And that'll be enough. But if you go there and go, my life's pretty good. I don't want nothing to change. I'm doing this, this, and this, and frankly, I don't care what God has to say about that. I'm not going to change my mind. And God will respect your mind. There's a great famous painting of Jesus outside of a door. And the door has no handle. Why does it have no handle? Because God won't force His way into your life. But when the door is open, just that much, God will do amazing things with it. And I repeated myself. I'm going to talk a lot about today about the narrow road of faith. And it's a journey that we walk every day. It's a path less traveled. And in fact, sometimes it may feel like it's even less traveled. I had a conversation with a nice couple yesterday at a wedding. They said, oh, how nice it was, the young people getting married in the church, and they're sitting in the church. And then I said, just look around for a second. And when they looked around, they saw lots of young couples with lots of young children at this wedding. And I said, see? I said, it may seem like it's a narrow road that only a few people are walking down, but there's a lot of more young people than there was 5 years ago, than there was 10 years ago, who want to be involved in the church. Now, the path is going to be different, custom-made for each of us. But it all leads to the same place, heaven. The narrow road of faith leads us through the forests of life, straight to God. And there's going to be hard things on the road of faith. There'll be times when it feels like God's giving you too much. But God always gives us just enough and wants us to turn to Him with our burdens. And the more open we are, the more the path will change us, the more it will form us. And then there's going to be pitfalls and traps along this path, and we need to learn how to see them and avoid them. But the further you go, the longer you work on this path, the easier it becomes. Now, the video talked a little about training. Very funny ways. But those three things are important: to be emotionally, physically, and spiritually prepared for Steuebville. Now, emotionally prepared, I got to be honest with you. If something has been going on in your life since you were a kid, since you were a young adult, if something's been going on in your life, especially things that happened recently, they are going to play into the experience. Grace builds upon nature. It's a very smart Jesuit, well, I can't remember his name, who says this. Grace builds upon nature. So if something's happened to us, God's going to have to work with that. Whatever that is. Some of you went to Steuebville last year heard Ralph Boyle, Deacon Ralph Boyle, talk about his experience. He was abused as a child. God had to work with him with that fault and that scar in his heart in order to get him to where he needed to go. So if there's something that's gone on in your life, if nothing's gone on in your life, you need to go back home after this is all over and hug your parents and give them a big kiss and thank them. because they've done a really good job. If something's happened and it wasn't your parents' fault, thank them. And if something has happened, be aware of it. It's going to affect you. And God will, if you want it to go away, God will begin to deal with it. And if you don't, and you're not ready, and that's okay too. God will respect that. So be emotionally aware of what's going on in your life. Physically, there's a lot going on. If we're going to spend, I think depending on our job for breakfast we'll be up somewhere between 6 a.m. and 6:30. And we'll go until midnight. It's a long day. So be prepared for that day. You know, be a teenager. Sleep till noon on Thursday. In fact, on Friday, get up on Thursday afternoon, pack your stuff, go to bed at like 11 o'clock, and then sleep until like 11 o'clock. We're not leaving on the bus till 12:30. The bus will be leaving at Canadian Mers at 12:30 on the Friday. You don't have to be there until that time, okay? So, be prepared. Lynn would like us all to be there at 12 so that we're not late. So if you could be there at 12, that would be better.
Where are we meeting?
At Canadian Martyrs. That's over at St. Mary's 5900 English Street, right on St. Mary's campus. Why? Because turning a bus in that parking lot is hard, and turning a bus at St. Mary's parking lot is easy. So
there will be an email that will get sent out tomorrow that will highlight everything.
To your lovely parents. So be prepared for that. We spend a lot of time on our feet. We spend a lot of time outside. Bring a water bottle. Bring sunscreen. Be prepared for that. If we're lucky, it'll be like year 2, and they'll turn on the AC, and everything will feel nice and cool in the arena. If we're unlucky, it'll feel like year 1, and it will be very, 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 very hot in that arena. And I'm looking at you two because I remember distinctly the 2 of you looking at it, the 3 of us like drenched dogs the first year. So be prepared for that, okay? The last thing is being spiritually prepared. God is going to speak to you at Steuebville Atlantic, and I want you to be spiritually prepared for that. Now, some of you have had this experience where I've called your house, and I've spoken to you on the phone, and you're like, who the heck is that? I don't know who you are. And sometimes God's like that. When God speaks to you, it's like, I don't know whose voice it is. If you're praying and you're attentive to God, God will begin to hear your voice and go, oh, you'll be able to identify that voice. So really, 5 to 10 minutes of prayer a day is kind of essential. No Steubenville, for those of you who have gone before, this part's important. No Steubenville experience is the same. No pilgrimage is the same. I was counting in my head the other day. I've done something like 12 Life Team retreats, 6 Steubenvilles, and 2 World Youth Days. And that's not counting over the dozen personal retreats I've taken. I've done a lot of this stuff. Because I'm crazy. No, because I keep seeking God. And each one of them has been different. And God gives you amazing stuff. There's stuff that I got on my first trip to World Youth Day that it took me a long time to unpack. I broke Father James's heart. I went to Father James during the end of the first World Youth Day and told him I wanted to go for coffee. I was discerning a priestly vocation. It took me like a year and a half to get that out of my system and go, oh no, I'm afraid not. I'm afraid, Father James, I can't go for coffee with you anymore. Yeah. I mean, I went to World Youth Day, or I went to Steubenville in 2003, and there's stuff that I got in that pilgrimage experience that I'm still unpacking, that I'm beginning to think about now. And God will give you stuff that, like Nicolina said, she didn't play music before she went to last Steubenville, and now she feels really called to do that.
Yeah, and it's like, I feel like I might be, I don't know, am I also going to be a music director when I grow up? Don't know. Don't know if I'm going to be.
And it's going to take you a lot of years to unpack that and figure out what's going on. It takes a long time.
The drama of it.
It makes you feel any better. I don't think anyone at 16 or 17 years old really knows what they're going to do. They have an idea, they have a direction, but sometimes it's like walking into the darkness, and you just take one step forward. The other thing is to be aware of the pitfalls. The crazy thing about a pilgrimage is usually if you really believe that God's going to do something amazing in Steuebville Atlantic over here, then you have to be aware that God is going to do that. Now, the problem is that we're not the only ones that are aware of that. Satan is. So if Steubenville's over here, a little bit down the road, and we're here,